Yeah, one head is actually bigger than the other head. I don't know if that matters. Love, does a bigger head actually count? It does? Oh. Now, before me, you're going to see two microphones, both of which are Shure. Both are from the SM lineup or studio microphone lineup, and they're literally one number off. This is the Shure SM58, and this is the Shure SM48. And they look almost exactly alike. In fact, if you didn't know any better, you would probably just assume they were. But aside from the aesthetics, these mics are actually nothing alike, especially in price. So how much does that impact the sound? And does it matter? Well, let's take a look at that. Oh, so head size actually matters, huh? Uh-oh. Now, just to start, I'm going to do no post-processing on either of these microphones, though they will be boosted in post. So this is the SM48. And at first look, there's very little to distinguish it from the SM58, including in the sound department. Now, for that reason, I'm going to actually be doing a blind test on these microphones to see if you can pick out which is which. It's always fun. Now, I was able to pick out the differences, but it wasn't easy, and I was the one recording it. If you're really paying attention, you will hear it. That said, avoid reading any of the comparisons online because I didn't necessarily agree with all of them, and they might lead you astray in trying to find out which is which. We will reveal which is which at the end of the video though, so stay tuned for that. Now, what makes this comparison really interesting is the price differential. The SM58 here goes for $99 US, while the SM48 goes for $47. Now, that's more than a $50 swing in price, and if you're in a band looking to buy a bunch of these for your garage, that $50 swing could be rather impactful to your bottom line. Based on price, this mic is more of a competitor for the Behringer XM8500 than the SM58. And if you want to see that showdown, make sure you hit that subscribe button because it's on the way, much like my XM8500 is. It's coming at some point. But how exactly do these two microphones differ? Well, let's start with the wiring. The SM58 famously has a transformer in it to boost the signal so it doesn't have the same issues as the SM7B. The SM48, on the other hand, does not have a transformer, meaning the mic shouldn't be as hot, and a lot of people actually think that when they do the side-by-side. I didn't really have that experience. Both mics seem to require about the same amount of gain. And obviously the reason for that should be the different cartridges they use. You see, the SM58 uses a version of the Unidyne 3 capsule, which up until recently was the only cartridge of choice for the SM branded mics. This time though, it seems they went in a different direction for the SM48. Now, I can't find any real documentation on where the SM48 cartridge came from. In fact, I called Shure and spoke with one of their engineers, and even they couldn't accurately identify where that cartridge came from. All they know is that it's really not a Unidyne 3 capsule, but it was based on it, at least loosely, with a few tweaks that made it much more affordable, which does make sense. So in effect, these are nowhere near the same microphones. In fact, that Shure engineer wanted to put one false claim to bed for good. Now, apparently, there's a bunch of people claiming that the SM48s were just cast-off SM58s that didn't meet QA. That couldn't be further from the truth. Also, I know it doesn't impact performance, but the SM48, while it's kind of dressed up to look like the 58, there's one glaring issue that really stood out to me immediately and for some reason bothered me more than it should. I know that it's aesthetic, but the look of the 58 is just so clean. So this just kind of feels wrong. Okay then, what about the specs? Both are dynamic, both are cardioid. The SM48 is 55 Hz to 14 kHz, and this is the response graph. While the SM58 is 50 Hz to 15 kHz, and this is its graph. You can see there is a bit of a difference in the curve in the high end between the two microphones. Now the SM58 is just over half a pound at 0.6 of a pound, while the SM48 is a big old chonky boy, weighing in at just under a pound at 0.82 pounds. Now that is quite the difference when you consider the small package. And yes, you can actually feel the difference when it's in your hand. Other than that though, the rest of the specs pretty much run hand in hand. This is the Plosive Test for the SM48. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. This is the Plosive Test for the SM58. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. This is a test of the off-axis rejection of the SM48. This is the SM48 about 6 inches away, addressing the front of the mic. This is the SM48 about 6 inches away, addressing the side of the mic. This is the SM48 from the rear of the mic. And this is the SM48 addressing the other side of the mic from about 6 inches away. This is the SM58 about 6 inches away, addressing the front of the mic. This is the SM58 about 6 inches away, addressing the side of the mic. This is the SM58 about 6 inches away, addressing the rear of the mic. And this is the SM58 about 6 inches away, addressing the other side of the mic. This is a handling noise test for the SM48. This is a handling noise test for the SM58. So then, what is the final verdict here? Now, if you've been listening along, you may have noticed the difference between the mics, but it might not be as massive a difference as the price would suggest. That said, if you want an SM58, and you're only buying one or maybe two, just buy the SM58. In the long run, you'll probably appreciate it a bit more. But as I did say in the beginning, if you're just starting out, perhaps with a band, or you're setting up a multi-mic situation, give these a really long look. Now, if you have these up on stage, no one's going to notice a difference, especially during a concert. These are going to do you just fine, and they have the same ruggedness for gigging. So for that scenario, I would actually recommend the SM48s. Also, if you're really trying to keep those costs down for a podcast, or you just need a mic for the road, I mean, sure, the SM48 will do the job easily. But all that aside, the SM58, it's unmatched. Outside of budget considerations, I'm always going to recommend the SM58. It's legendary. The capsule's legendary. And for a good reason. Okay then, you figure it out? Mic A is the SM48, and mic B was the SM58. Let me know down in the comments if you got it right. If you like this video, punch that like button like it just picked up your guitar without asking. Who does that? If you really like the video though, hit that other button and share some love. Cheers, and I'll see you in the next video.